All right, welcome back to another episode of Balance Bites. Today we are starting a brand new series called the Leading Well series. It's all about holistic self-care for nonprofit leaders. And today's topic is self-care for leaders. Um, Before we dive into today's topic, I do have an announcement. I want to remind you all that I am hosting a 3-day boot camp, the Balance Leader Boot Camp, May 28th through the 30th. So 2 weeks from today, we get started. It's totally free to sign up. You can upgrade and go VIP and get access to the recordings from the session, as well as get an opportunity for some hot seat coaching from me during our live trainings each night. Speaking of which, what's going to happen is each morning you will get an email with a workbook regarding today's topic, or with the day's topic, as well as in the evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be doing a live training session via Zoom. So day one is all about assessing your balance. You're going to discover how well or not well you're doing balancing the demands of your leadership role with your personal time, as well as learn some strategies on how you can make some improvements right away. On day two, we'll talk about mastering prioritization. So you'll use tools like the Eisenhower matrix to cut through all of the clutter on your to-do list and really help you to focus on what truly matters without burning out in the process. And then on day three, we'll talk about setting some strong boundaries, learning the art of saying no in a way that respects your time and energy while also fostering a sustainable leadership approach. So I'll drop the link below, but it's the balanceleaderbootcamp.com. Let me grab my link. I'll just put the ticker on, right? So you just go to balanceleaderbootcamp.com and you can register for free or upgrade to VIP for just $97. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into our topic today, which is self-care for leaders. And I want to begin by talking about why self-care is essential, especially for nonprofit leaders, because in the nonprofit sector, passion really drives work, and the stakes can be really high because of the vulnerable populations that nonprofits work with. And in that sector, leaders really face kind of a unique set of pressures that aren't present in the commercial space, right? Or in the for-profit world. And the demand to balance multiple roles, manage tight resources, as well as meet the demands or meet the needs of both the communities that they serve and their teams, it can be a bit overwhelming. And under these conditions, self-care becomes not just a personal benefit, but a necessity from a professional standpoint. So for nonprofit leaders, self-care is often viewed. Let me pause for a moment. Feel hyped up. Let me just kind of calm down for a minute. So for nonprofit leaders, self-care can really often be viewed kind of through a lens of skepticism. It may be seen as either a luxury that they can't afford or even a sign of weakness. However, the reality of things is starkly different. Self-care is a critical component to effective leadership. I'm going to say that again. Self-care is a critical component of effective leadership. It is the fuel that really sustains long-term commitment so that you can navigate all of the challenges that come up in the nonprofit world. And without self-care, the risk of burnout is extraordinarily high. And the ability to lead with compassion and resilience ends up becoming compromised if you're not doing things to care for yourself. So incorporating self-care into your daily life, it does more than just enhance your own personal well-being. It equips you to handle stress more effectively, make clearer decisions, as well as maintain the energy that you need in order to inspire and motivate your teams. So, by prioritizing your own health and well being, as a leader, you're not just taking care of yourself. You are essentially investing in the health of your organization as well as the communities that you work with. So, I want to dive into a little deeper into why self care is essential for nonprofit leaders. I want to provide you with some practical strategies because I'm all about action, right? It's important to have information, but you need the tools and the strategies and take action on those things so that you can actually impact change or create change. Later on in this series, we'll get into some insights on how to integrate self care into your daily leadership practice. But today, I really want to focus on kind of like the foundational aspects of self care and kind of some practices that you can use for inner peace and how important it is for you to nourish both your body and your soul, right? So I believe that over the course of this series, you're going to truly see that leadership begins with leading yourself first. So, all right, let's go ahead and dive in. So, at its core, self care for leaders it's not about indulgence. It's about essential maintenance. If you think about your vehicle, you go and get your oil changed and you get your tires rotated, you get your brakes serviced. These are essential maintenance components of a healthy running, to have a healthy vehicle, right? A vehicle that is going to get you where you want to go, right? Our bodies are the same way. We need to do things to maintain our bodies so that we're able to keep running and not break down. Self care is a part of that maintenance. And there's all kinds of misconceptions about self care that paint it in this kind of light of selfishness or that it's some sort of frivolous activity, especially in professions that are dedicated to serving others, like nonprofits. But it's just simply not true. It couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, self-care is about ensuring that you remain effective, resilient, and capable of sustaining your commitment over the long haul to the people that you serve through your organization. It is foundational to both your personal well-being and your excellence as a professional. So, self-care really encompasses a wide range of practices, many of which are vital for maintaining your physical, mental, and emotional health. And for leaders who work in high stress environments like nonprofits, there's places where, there's times when resources are really limited and the emotional stakes can be really high because of the population that you serve. So self-care is going to be crucial for preventing burnout. And burnout not only diminishes your capacity as a leader to function, but it can also start to create these kind of like ripple effects across the organization as a whole that impacts your staff morale and productivity, their productivity. And if your teams aren't being productive, then the organization can't be productive. And not only that, if the organization isn't being productive, that impacts the profitability of the organization. And while I'm talking about nonprofit organizations here, there's also, this is completely side note, but nonprofit organizations still need to profit. The difference between a for-profit organization and a not-for-profit organization is what they do with the profits. In a nonprofit, the profits just go back into taking care of the people that they serve. Whereas in a for-profit company, those profits go to those who are to the stakeholders, right? To the owners, to the stockholders, whoever it is who has a stake within the company, right? So they still care about profitability. All right. So incorporating self-care into your schedule when it's already busy and it's already jam-packed really requires this kind of strategic thinking, right? So if you think about it as a leader, whether you're in a nonprofit space or a for-profit space, it doesn't matter. There are strategic initiatives that you put forth within your organization to ensure the success of your organization. And as a result, it's important for you to transfer that same mindset towards self-care and how to build that into your schedule. So it's going to begin with recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know it sounds cliche. I know you've heard that before, but it is true. You have to first take care of yourself in order for you to effectively care for others, right? You think about the flight attendants when they're doing their safety protocols and they're sharing with you when, should the cabin lose pressure, oxygen masks are going to fall, and put your oxygen mask on first before you help your neighbor, before you help people who are traveling with you. And the reason why is because when you're dealing with someone who is panicking, they might be fighting against you and you run out of oxygen trying to help them put their oxygen mask on. And maybe you get theirs on in time, but then you can't even save yourself because you don't have the energy to or the oxygen to put your own on. And many nonprofit leaders, as well as just employees, people who work in the nonprofit sector, find themselves in this place of burning out, running out of fuel, running out of oxygen, simply because they have prioritized everyone else above themselves, right? So to prioritize your own self-care means setting aside time for regular physical activity. Yes, exercise. Ensuring that you're getting adequate rest. So you want that 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. You want to maintain a nutritious diet. So eating foods that fuel your body, not just foods that fool your body, like sugary treats and processed foods and sodas and things like that with all these empty calories. And finding time for mental and emotional rejuvenation. I think that as a society, especially here in the US, I live here. I don't live anywhere else, so I can't really speak for anywhere else. However, I did travel to Paris a few years ago, and I did see evidence of this. And when I did my solo trip to Belize, I saw this as well. But we as Americans, we have a hard time just being, just simply embracing the art of being. We feel like we have to be doing something all the time. We're on our phones. If we've got downtime, we're getting on our phones, we're watching TV, we're eating something. We feel like we got to work. We got to be doing something with our hands in order to avoid being quote unquote bored. But there is an art to learning how to be. And I really practiced this when I did that solo trip to Belize, because I went by myself and I completely disconnected. I didn't take my laptop, and I really allowed myself that time to sit and observe nature, not reading a book, not on my phone, just really enjoying being. Anyway, I digress. I didn't mean to go all there, but it's really important for you to find time to rejuvenate yourself mentally and emotionally, right? So it's important as leaders for us to view these activities as not luxuries, but as critical components of our professional responsibilities. Yes, taking care of yourself, self-care is a critical component to your responsibilities as a leader, as a professional. So I've got 3 practical strategies that I want to share with you today that you can start to implement right away and make a difference. That's going to make a difference in your self-care practices and your energy. So number 1 is this is kind of obvious, but schedule your self-care. Just like you would schedule an important meeting or a doctor's appointment, block out time on your calendar for self-care activities. I actually encourage my clients to do this first, to put their self-care on their calendar first. You want those activities that are going to build you up and fill you up on your calendar and make them non-negotiable. So whether it's just a 30-minute walk during your lunch break, or you're going on some sort of annual retreat, making self-care a scheduled part of your routine is going to ensure that you as a person won't be overlooked while you are caring for everyone else. The second strategy is to delegate and prioritize. We talk about this a lot on my channel. Effective delegation is a key self-care strategy. By entrusting tasks to others, you can free up time for your self-care activities. That'll also help you to reduce stress and prevent being overloaded and overworked. You don't have to be Superman or Superwoman. You don't have to do it all. Share the load with others. And this is not about delegation. This live stream is not about delegation, but I want to kind of give this little nugget here. A lot of people feel like if I delegate it to someone else, it won't be done right. And or I don't have time. But what you're doing when you can teach someone how to do the task the way you would want it to be done, where they get the same outcomes, they don't necessarily have to do it the same way you do it, but the outcome is still the same, then investing that time today to do that will free up your time in the future. Right. And then my third strategy is to set boundaries. This is going to involve communicating very clearly what you are capable of taking on and when you are available. It also means learning how to say no or to negotiate deadlines and expectations, both with yourself and with your colleagues or even family members. Being able to have a conversation around look at what you've got on your schedule right now and have a conversation with someone and say, hey, this is what I've got right now. I know you said you need this by X date. Can I get it to you by blah, blah, blah instead? This is where, I don't have capacity to get that to you by the timeline that you've set, right? So really negotiate with colleagues about deadlines and family members. So I also want to encourage you to develop a personalized self-care plan. It can really help to ensure that you're covering all aspects of your health. So you want to include some very specific goals around maybe your sleep, your diet, what you're eating, your exercise, as well as hobbies, those things that really fill you up, as well as relaxation techniques or activities. So what is it that helps you to relax? Maybe for you it is a massage or a spa day, but maybe it's lounging by the pool. Maybe it's going for a bike ride. It doesn't really matter. Fine. There is no one size fits all approach to self-care. You have to find out what works for you, not for everyone else, because it's really important for you to recharge your mental and physical batteries, right? And then also review this plan on a periodic basis and make adjustments where necessary, because life happens. Change is inevitable, and it's important for you to make adjustments to match whatever has shifted within your personal and your professional life. So at any rate, the foundation of self-care is really built on this understanding that self-care is a vital tool for sustaining leadership, effective leadership. And I want to encourage you to release those myths that we talked about earlier that label self-care as a sign of weakness, and really adopt taking a strategic approach to integrating self-care practices into your daily life. It can really start to enhance your ability to lead effectively and compassionately. And that shift is going to not only benefit you as a leader, but also set a very powerful example for all of the members of your organization. And it can lead to fostering this culture where self-care is valued and actually encouraged. one of the challenges that I see with when I'm working with my clients is, while we work on strategies to help them be more mindful of self-care practices, it is often a little bit of a challenge. There's this tug of war kind of that happens when they go back into the environments that they work for, because the environment is not always conducive to self-care practices. And so as leaders, it's important for us to do things that we can to foster and cultivate a culture within our organization that honors and values self-care. So that's all I've got for you today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I'm glad that I was able to get this re-recorded. Um, and hopefully it's just as good as the initial one. So, but anyway, have an amazing day. I will see you all back here next week, Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of Balanced Bites. And remember, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye for now.